Exposed. Our son's shocking betrayal left us at the edge. His hidden truth will change everything. As dawn broke over the sleepy town of Maplewood, the Johnson family prepared for another bustling Saturday at their family-run diner, the heart of the community. Mary stood by the griddle, the scent of pancakes wafting through the air. Her husband, Tom, leaned against the counter, a smile lit with warmth as he watched their son Jake scribbling lyrics at the table. They were a hard-working bunch, bound by love and dreams, each perfectly flipping flapjacks while sharing laughter that echoed like musical notes across the diner. But that sacred laughter shattered when Jake, bright-eyed and overflowing with youthful ambition, dropped his bombshell. "Mom, Dad, I'm dropping out of college to pursue music." The room went silent, the air thick with tension. Mary's heart sank, feeling as though the ground beneath her was crumbling. Tom's face darkened, disappointment creeping in like an unwelcome guest. Years of sacrifice and struggle flashed before her eyes. "What about your future, Jake?" she choked out. Each word landed like a weight, pressing upon them. The diner, usually a sanctuary, felt cold and distant. As Jake defended his dreams passionately, Mary's worries hardened into anxiety. She had nurtured hope and ambition but now felt a rift open between her family and her son. Tom's silence spoke volumes. It was hard for them to understand how a kid they raised to work for his dreams was now chasing something so uncertain. Frustration flared and angry words flew, each one barbed with hurt. Days turned into weeks, the divide between them deepening. Jake immersed himself in music, finding solace in chords that resonated with him, while Mary found herself slipping into thoughts that gnawed at her heart. Then she uncovered alarming truths. Jake's mentor was charm personified, but something didn't sit right. Why was he so invested in her boy? As whispers circulated through Maplewood, the townsfolk watched closely, their collective heart aching for the Johnsons. But the revelations didn't stop at mentors. Mary stumbled upon Jake's hidden struggle with depression, buried under the weight of his facade. A beloved neighbor, a veteran who had always believed in him, had passed away recently, and Jake carried that sadness like a heavy cloak. The realization struck Mary harder than any words could convey. How had they all missed the signs? It brought forth a torrent of emotions: anger, guilt, desperation. Torn between love and fear for her son, she sensed the heartbreaking choice looming. Before she could fully process, the town's annual summer concert approached. Jake stood at a crossroads, his dream lingering like a whisper in the air. Would he embrace the stage that once filled his heart with joy or cower from the shadow of expectation? The memories of laughter in the diner felt far away, replaced with uncertainty as Jake stepped into the spotlight for a final rehearsal. The entire town held its breath, the moment charged with hope and trepidation. Would he find his own voice again? Or would the fear of failure drown out his passion? Just as the first notes filled the air, a hush fell, leaving minds racing and hearts aching. Would this bond be mended? Or would it remain forever fractured? The answer lingered just out of reach, casting a dark shadow over their family's dreams. The notes flowed through the crowd, shimmering like a light breaking through heavy clouds. Jake's voice wavered at first, hesitant, as if it were searching for the right words. The townspeople leaned forward, hearts aching, anticipation hanging thick in the air. His fingers danced over the strings, each strum resonating like a heartbeat. Mary's breath caught in her throat as she stood beside Tom, who clenched his jaw, his expression a mixture of pride and anxiety. They watched their son grow into a young man, full of potential. Yet here they were, caught in the tension of an uncertain future. But then something shifted. With each verse, Jake seemed to shed layers of fear. His passion ignited, and the music became a conduit for his buried emotions. Mary could see it, the struggle and longing pouring out like rain after a drought. As he sang about loss and dreams, people began to feel it too. The veteran's memory, the mentorship she feared, all tied together in an unbreakable thread. Lively chatter turned into a quiet murmur. Eyes misted as the realization dawned. This was not just about music. It was about healing, about finding voice in sorrow. Suddenly, a stray note caught Jake off guard. He stumbled, a brief flicker of doubt clouding his previously confident performance. Mary's heart raced. Would he slip back into the shadows? But she caught his eye from the crowd. An unspoken bond passed between them, a flicker of belief that lit the way. Then, with renewed fervor, He picked up the pace of the song, pouring everything he had into those final moments. The crowd erupted into applause, cheers ringing out with a force that filled the entire space like warm sunlight. For that brief interval there was a magic, a shared connection that united everyone present. Yet, as Jake finished, panting and wide-eyed under the stage lights, he looked down at the crowd, searching for something. Approval? Forgiveness? Mary felt a pang. This was it. A moment of truth. He had bared his soul, but was it enough to bridge the chasm that had formed between them? Once Jake stepped off the stage, the euphoria of performance faded and exhaustion set in. The adrenaline that once lifted him turned into a heavy weight. Tom rushed forward, enveloping Jake in a tight embrace, but Mary hesitated, unsure of her place. The fear of rejection twisted her insides, even after witnessing strength and vulnerability interwoven in her son's voice. Before she could make a move, a young girl from the crowd approached Jake, her face bright and hopeful. "You were amazing. You sang what I feel." Her eyes sparkled with sincerity, resonating so deeply with Jake that he beamed back at her. A connection forged in the shared struggle of youth. That moment, an idea sparked in Mary's mind. Perhaps they needed to face this together to open up. But would Jake hear her, let her in? Could he even recognize how far he'd come? How far they all had to go as a family? As the sun began to set over Maplewood, bathing everything in warm hues, Jake's face shifted from excitement to confusion. The chatter around him dulled, and Mary's heart raced as she moved toward him, a mixture of fear and hope propelling her forward. What would she say? Would he be receptive? The deep breath Mary took signaled that it was now or never. Jake, her voice caught, her heart a fragile balloon bobbing in the air. Would this moment fracture them further? Or would it be the first step toward reconciliation? The whole diner felt small, holding its breath, waiting for the next act in their unfolding story. Mary tried again, her voice steady, but her heart raced like a drum in her chest. The world around them faded, leaving just the two of them standing in that charged moment. She could see confusion flicker across his face, a mix of triumph and vulnerability still battling within him. I didn't know you were there," he stammered, his gaze dropping from hers. Tears welled in his eyes, reflecting the dim light of the diner. "I was right there cheering you on," she said softly. "You were incredible." She stepped closer, each movement feeling like walking on thin ice. "But I need you to know something." The words stuck like molasses. Would this be the moment he opened up? Or would he retreat back into the shadows just like before? Jake shifted his weight, discomfort rippling through him. For a heartbeat, she saw the memories flash across his face, all the silent battles he fought. Every moment he felt alone. "Mom, what? You just what?" The question hung heavy in the air, both a plea and a challenge. She didn't want to push him too far, but the emotions erupted in her, raw and unfiltered. "I can't help you if you don't let me in." A flicker of doubt crossed his features, but then he took a deep breath. "It's just everything's changing." He motioned to the crowd, the energy of shared emotion still buzzing around them. "I thought singing would make it easier, but it only made me realize how much I've been holding back." Mary felt a pang of recognition. She knew the weight of silence, the toll it took on relationships. "You're not alone in this, Jake. We're here. Your dad and I." He lowered his head, shame creeping up on him. "I was afraid to tell you how hard this has been for me. I don't want to disappoint you." "Disappoint me?" She stepped even closer, her hands trembling slightly as she held his gaze. "You would never disappoint me. We all have battles, Jake. I've had mine too." Tom had stepped back, sensing the moment was not his to intervene. He watched from the sidelines, anxiety knit into the lines of his forehead. "It feels like I've built these walls, and it's hard to bring them down," Jake admitted quietly, his frustration peeking through. "We can break them together." Her voice was a warm blanket in the cold room, wrapping around them both. "We've lost so much, and I thought you understood that pain. That's part of healing, Jake." The weight of her words hung between them. Would he see what she meant? Would he finally face his own fears? Tentatively, Jake nodded, yet uncertainty clouded his eyes. "What if I can't? Then we'll figure it out as a family. Doesn't have to be perfect." The response slipped out, an invitation wrapped in love. The corners of his mouth twitched, unsure if he should truly allow that vulnerability. It was both terrifying and liberating, the prospect of stripping bare every layer he had hidden beneath the careful facade. Behind them, lively chatter resumed, the crowd lifting spirits again. But their world felt suspended in that electric moment. Mary reached out and placed her hand on his shoulder. "We're going to face it together, I promise." Jake took a breath, the weight slowly lifting. Okay. But just as she felt the first stirrings of hope bloom between them, the front door swung open, and in walked an uninvited guest, darkening the doorway with a stormy aura. Every head turned. A collective gasp echoed through the diner. "What is he doing here?" Tom muttered under his breath. Mary's heart sank as she recognized the familiar face, one she hadn't expected to see again. The very person who had haunted their dreams, the one who had set their family on this rocky path. The tension swelled, stretching thin like a tightrope ready to snap. What would this new encounter unleash on their fragile moment? Jake stiffened beside her. "Mom, please don't let him ruin this." But Mary's heart screamed. They were not done fighting yet. This time they needed to confront both their past and this unexpected arrival. What truths were about to unravel? Would they stand strong as a family, or would the shadows pull them apart again? The stranger stood just inside the diner, casting a long shadow. Mary's heart pounded in her chest, the rhythm competing with the lively chatter that suddenly felt foreign. Jake's body stiffened next to her, tension radiating from him like a live wire. "Stay close to me," she whispered, feeling the weight of his fear. Tom's hand gripped the back of a chair, knuckles white, as if it was the only anchor keeping him grounded. There he was, Mike, the face from the past, someone they had hoped to never see again. Mary fought to keep her composure. "What do you want?" The words escaped her before she could drown them in caution. Jake flinched at her tone, eyes wide as he stepped back, a mix of anger and fear swirling in them. "Mom, please," but Mary couldn't help it. The moment felt like a brewing storm. Mike's smirk was quick to surface, a flicker of triumph in his otherwise indifferent gaze. "Nice to see you again, Mary. And you too, Tom. Didn't he think I'd miss a party?" He glanced at the crowd, his presence almost magnetic. "Get out," Tom said, voice low and firm. The anger simmered just beneath the surface, barely contained. "Or what?" Mike challenged, taking a step inside. His confidence radiated, feeling the room swirl around him like a whirlwind stirring up dust. Mary took a breath to steady herself, her mind racing. Was this a game to him? A way to draw them out? "You have no place here," she said, though doubt tinged her words. "Really? Is that what you think?" His voice dripped with sarcasm. "I just came to see how my old friends are doing. We used to be like family, right?" Jake's breathing quickened. Mary could see it in his eyes, the hesitation, the deep-seated pain. "Come on, don't," he started, but she quickly put a hand on his arm. "We're not a family anymore," she shot back, more defiantly than she felt. Each word sent a ripple of emotion through her, fresh memories rising like ghosts from the shadows of their past. "I'm just here to set a few things straight," Mike said, his voice shifting, a darker tone emerging. "You thought it was over? I have a stake in this too." The tension hit like a slap. Mary glanced at Jake. He looked scared, and she felt the need to protect him surge within her. "You don't have a stake in anything," she said, a tremor breaking her facade. "Whatever you think you're doing here, Mom," Jake interrupted, urgency in his voice. "Let us just go. No. This is our life." Mary's voice trembled. This was a confrontation she thought they had escaped. Mike took another step closer, the distance between them shrinking. "Is it, though? Or is it just a fragile illusion you've built?" He laughed, and the room felt colder. "You can pretend all you want, but I know the truth." "What truth?" Tom fired back, stepping protectively in front of Mary and Jake. "The truth that you've kept hidden. The truth that he's afraid of." Mike pointed a finger towards Jake, the accusation hanging in the air like smoke. "It's not just fear, is it? It's the guilt, the longing." With each word, Jake shrank deeper into himself, as if he could disappear. Mary's heart raced. He was already so vulnerable. How could Mike cut him so deeply? "Stop it!" she shouted, fury and desperation melding into one. "You don't get to do this." But the damage was done. The eyes of the diner shifted between them, the tension thickening. Emotions swirled like a cyclone as whispers started to echo among the patrons. "What did he mean?" Jake asked, voice trembling. Mary turned to him, feeling her world shift. "Jake, just tell me the truth," he demanded, eyes wide and pleading. In that moment, the air turned electric, and everything Mary had hoped to keep hidden threatened to spill out. The confrontation they all feared was crashing down on them like a wave. And she had to decide, would they confront their past together, or let it rip them apart? "Can we stand strong as a family?" she whispered to herself, dreading the answer as Mike's laughter echoed in her mind. What hidden truth would Jake uncover next? Mary's heart raced, every pulse echoing the storm inside. She turned toward Jake, desperation clawing at her throat as she searched for words to calm him. "Jake, please," her voice cracked under the weight of unspoken fears. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about their family. "Mom, why don't you just tell me?" Jake's voice trembled, a mix of anger and hurt. The crowd around them faded, his face the focal point in a sea of uncertainty. All those secrets she thought were buried surged to the forefront of her mind. She had crafted a life for Jake that felt secure. But what if her protection was just a facade? "I need to know," he insisted, stepping away from Tom's side, his resolve stronger than the frightened child she'd known. "What is he talking about?" Mike's lips curled into a wicked smile, as if savoring the chaos he stirred. The child wants answers. Isn't he that precious?" He stepped forward, invading their space, capturing all attention. "But let us be honest, Mary. What's the point of hiding it now? He deserves to know the truth, doesn't he?" "Shut up," Mary shouted, the word erupting from her like a bomb. She was furious with Mike, but even more so with herself. "This is not how we do things." The urgency in her voice echoed in the diner, silencing conversations and forcing eyes to turn away. For a brief moment, Mike's bravado wavered, and she saw a flicker of something beneath his calculated facade. Fear. Vulnerability? "Fine," she said, drawing in a deep breath. "Jake, there are things about our past, just say it," Jake urged, tears pooling in his eyes, making it impossible for Mary to hold her own. "All right," she snapped, waiting for the crowd to settle. "There were mistakes, things that happened when I was desperate. Mike was part of that time. This isn't about me." Mike interrupted, but Mary raised a hand, cutting him off. "I was trying to protect you," she said, her voice trembling now. "Before you were born, I was with Mike. We thought it was love, but it was just chaos. It hurt us all. I wanted you to have a better life." "Better life?" Jake echoed, disbelief clouding his features. "You were trying to protect me from him? From the truth?" "Yes," Mary shouted passionately, tears spilling down her cheeks, his rejection piercing her heart. "I wanted you to believe in a family you could trust. I thought it would keep you safe, and I never wanted you to have to carry the weight of our past." Jake backed away as if her words were an invisible force pushing him from her. "But all those years, you lied to me." Mary felt her heart shatter at the realization that the distance between them grew wider. "Jake, please understand," he held up his hand, silencing her. "I don't understand." His voice was rising now, fueled by hurt. "Do you think I don't deserve the truth just because you were scared? The truth matters, Mom. You don't just get to decide that." The tension shifted. Patrons in the diner whispered among themselves, some with wide eyes as if witnessing a wreck unfold. With every second that ticked by, Mary's sense of hopelessness deepened. "Do you hate me?" she whispered, regretting every moment that had led to this point. "I don't know," Jake yelled, frustration pouring out of him, each word a desperate plea. Silence engulfed the diner, thick and suffocating, as Mary felt her world begin to spiral. Mike smirked, clearly enjoying the unraveling. She breathed heavily, the moment stretching out, so many emotions colliding. As she looked into Jake's eyes, the spark that had always lit their bond dimmed, and something darker loomed between them. "Jake," but before she could finish, he turned and ran for the door, panic lacing his every step. "Jake!" she shouted, instinct pulling at her, but he was already gone, leaving chaos in his wake. Mary stood frozen, tears streaming down her cheeks as confusion and regret clashed within. Mike's laughter echoed once more, a cruel reminder of the truth that had driven them apart. "You thought you could hold it all together?" he spat, eyes glinting. With a schism carved between them, Mary took a shaky breath. Where had they gone wrong? Could she reach Jake before it was too late? The diner door swung shut behind him with a finality that sent chills down her spine. Yet a part of her, deep inside, craved a confrontation with the man who had shattered everything. "What did you do to us?" she demanded, fury igniting anew. But even as she wrestled with that question, fear loomed larger. Would Jake confront the truth, or would it consume him entirely? Mary's heart felt like it was in a vice as she stood alone in the diner, a whirlwind of emotions crashing around her. Every whisper from the other patrons felt like a dagger, each concerned glance a reminder of her failure. How had things spiraled so out of control? She had always envisioned a warm, loving home for Jake, one free from the shadows of her choices. But in that moment, she felt as if those shadows were clawing their way back to the surface. Mike's smugness only added to her frustration, his self-satisfaction tainting any hope of clarity. "You thought you were protecting him, Mary, but look where that led you. A broken family, hidden truths. This is your mess now," he taunted, leaning against the counter like a serpent, reveling in her despair. "I've had enough of your games," she shot back, refusing to be further provoked. "You don't get to twist this into something it's not. You were a part of my past, yes, but this isn't just your fault. I made choices too." "Choices?" he replied, raising an eyebrow. "Let us be real. You lied to your son. That's not the way to build trust." Each word stung like a bee sting. Mary turned away from him, fighting back tears. She needed to focus on Jake. He was the priority. "I have to find him before he does something he regrets," she murmured, hardly able to hear herself over the chaos in her mind. Mary rushed out the door into the damp night, the air heavy with tension. She could still see Jake's figure disappearing into the distance. "Jake," she called, her voice cracking. She could only hope he was close enough to hear her. He was hurt, confused, and she couldn't have him feeling that way, not alone. Gathering her wits, she began to jog in the direction he fled, heart pounding harder than ever. The streets were eerily quiet, the usual hum of the city silenced by the storm within her. Every step felt heavier, filled with dread as she imagined Jake's turmoil. Was he angry? Scared? Or had he already shut her out completely? Just thinking about it shattered her heart all over again. Every moment spent hiding the truth felt like a lead weight keeping her down. Now all was exposed, and she was terrified of what that meant. "Where are you?" she whispered into the night, her voice trembling. Desperation clawed at her throat as she turned a corner. She finally spotted him at the park, sitting on a worn-out bench, head buried in his hands. Jake looked so small under the streetlights, so utterly vulnerable. The sight of him nearly took her breath away. "Jake," she called gently, hands trembling as she approached. He looked up, eyes wide and glistening, trapped between an urge to lash out and the longing for comfort. "You shouldn't have come, Mom," he snapped, voice cracking under the pressure. "I can't deal with this. I can't deal with you. Please," she pleaded, her own heart breaking at his words. "Just let me explain. I never wanted to hurt you." "Explain? How do you explain all the lies? How could you think it was okay to keep this from me?" His anger flared, lighting a fire they both needed to extinguish. "I thought it would protect you. I was just trying to keep you safe." Her voice wavered, but she pressed on, seeking understanding. "But I see now that I was wrong. I see it clearly. And I can't lose you, Jake. Not to this." The silence that fell was heavy, neither of them knowing how to bridge the chasm that had formed. It felt impossibly wide. "Mom, I don't know if I can forgive you. I just don't," he finally admitted, voice breaking. The raw honesty hung in the air, as palpable as the cold wind brushing against them. Mary stepped closer, her heart aching for her son. "I understand. Just know I'm here. I'll always be here." But would that be enough? Could this bond ever heal? As she searched his eyes, she realized their conversation was just beginning a journey that could either lead them back to each other, or further into the abyss. Would he be willing to face the truth together? Or would this revelation irrevocably divide them? Before she could voice another word, Jake pulled away, shaking his head. "I need time," he said, then turned and walked away, leaving Mary alone once more. She stood there, the weight of the moment crashing down around her. Could she really bear this loss? Would Jake find the strength to confront their past? Or would he turn away for good? As the night deepened, she felt the shadows closing in, and in her heart, she feared the worst. What if this was the moment that changed everything for them both? Mary lingered at the park entrance, the cool air biting at her skin, chasing any remnants of warmth away. She could still feel the weight of Jake's words echoing in her mind. I need time. It felt like a dagger to her heart. What if that time stretched endlessly, pulling them further apart instead of drawing them back together? Her phone buzzed in her pocket, a sudden intrusion into her tumultuous thoughts. It was a message from a local number, likely a reminder about Jake's basketball practice. The thought that he might not return to the court sent another wave of panic rippling through her. This isn't just about the lies, it's about trust, she whispered to herself, grounding her thoughts. She started to pace, her sneakers crunching against the gravel path, a desperate incantation of hope against despair. What could she say to mend this rupture? She thought about all the times they laughed over ice cream, the games they played, the way they would cuddle on the couch during movie nights. Those memories felt like pieces of a puzzle she no longer knew how to connect, as if the universe was answering her turmoil. A couple strolled by, a young girl running ahead, giggling as she chased a stray dog. For a moment Mary watched, envy gnawing at her heart. That innocence, that joy. How could everything spiral away so fast? She clenched her fists, unwilling to surrender to despair. She needed to take action, to fight for her son. Mom! The voice shattered her thoughts. Mary whipped around to see one of Jake's friends, Ryan, jog up the path. He wore a concerned frown, concern etched into his youthful features. I saw Jake. He's pretty upset. He came over to my place for a bit, but he left very soon after. Did he say anything? The urgency in Mary's voice startled Ryan. Not really. Just that he needed to think. He looked lost, Ryan admitted, shifting his weight awkwardly. I'm sorry, Mary. I wish I could have helped more. It's okay, she replied, forcing a smile even as her heart raced. Thank you for being there for him. Ryan's eyes softened. If you need to talk, I'm here. He nodded before heading back down the path, leaving Mary feeling even more helpless. The park now seemed darker, shadows creeping across the grass as the wind rustled through the trees. She knew she should head home, but something kept her rooted to the spot. Her mind swirled with 1,000 thoughts, but one emerged above the rest. She couldn't let Jake face whatever he was grappling with alone. With renewed determination, she reached for her phone, scrolling through contact names until she found the one she hoped she wouldn't have to call. She kept it buried deep, afraid of what it meant. But if there was a chance Jake could be helped, if he could understand just why she made her choices, she would have to reach for that help. As the call connected, her pulse raced, every ring amplifying her nervousness. She had questions, she needed guidance. What if Jake never forgave her? What if he continued down the path of isolation? A gasp escaped her lips just as someone answered, their voice steady and calm, a lifeline in the tumult of her despair. Hello, this is Dr. Patel. How can I help you today? Mary inhaled sharply, the seriousness of her next step hanging in the air. Could she really lay bare the truth to someone who could hold the keys to her family's future? Just as she opened her mouth to speak, another chilling thought crossed her mind. What if this truth brought even more turmoil instead of healing? Mom! A voice rang out suddenly, stronger and more determined than before. Her heart skipped, turning toward the sound. There was Jake, returning from the shadows, and Mary could only wonder if he held the answer she was afraid to ask for, or if he finally made a choice that would leave them both shattered. Mary's breath caught as she took in Jake's appearance. He approached with an intensity that made her heart race. The way he held his shoulders slightly hunched, and the slight frown etched on his brow told her he was a storm on the verge of breaking. Jake! Her voice trembled, emotions cascading through her. Was this the moment for confrontation or connection? I was just trying to. I didn't come here to talk about you or what you did, he interrupted, his voice almost a whisper but laced with frustration. I need to know what's real. The urgency in his tone sent a ripple of fear through her. Time stood still as she assessed his expression, searching for signs of vulnerability amidst the anger. They stood on the precipice of a cliff, and one wrong word could send them both tumbling into an abyss. Jake, please, she said, fighting to keep her voice steady. I want to help you. I never wanted to hurt you. He shook his head, taking a step back, distancing himself as if her words were knives that threatened to cut deeper. How can I believe you after everything? You don't get it, do you? I feel lost, and no matter how many times you say you're sorry, it won't change anything. Mary's heart ached. His pain reverberated through her like a haunting melody she could no longer ignore. I know I've made mistakes, Jake. I've hurt you and I'm sorry for that. But I promise I'm trying to be better for you. This time he looked at her, really looked at her. The conflict in his gaze flickered like the dying light of the setting sun. I saw Ryan. He told me you were looking for help. Yes, she admitted, feeling a mix of shame and hope swell within her. I called Dr. Patel. I thought maybe, with all the problems we're facing, talking to someone could help us find a way through. His expression shifted, uncertainty flooding his features. You think a stranger can help us? Mom, what about trust? How can I trust you when everything feels broken? Because I'm willing to face the truth, no matter how painful it is, she replied, her voice softening. We've both been hiding, Jake. But if we want to mend this, we need to be honest. All of us together. The weight of her words hung in the air, suspended between them. Mary held her breath, anxiously awaiting his response. I don't know if I can do that, Jake finally said, his voice quaking. What if the truth just makes it worse? It might, Mary said gently, but we can't keep pretending everything's okay, can we? You're struggling and I can't sit back and let you face this alone. I want you to be free from the hurt, to be able to trust again. In that moment, the park seemed to hold its breath. He looked down at the gravel underfoot, the shadows of the trees drawing closer, and for a heartbeat, she feared he might turn away again. But then he stepped closer, desperation flickering in his eyes. What if I told you something that would change everything? Something I've kept hidden? Mary's heart thundered in her chest. The air around them brimmed with anticipation and fear. Could this be what they needed? Could this truth be the key to healing or an even deeper wound? Jake, whatever it is, you can tell me, she said, her voice a steady anchor in the tumult. He took a shaky breath, and she could see it in his eyes, a mix of fear and resolution. Could this be the moment they finally began to construct the fragile bridge back to each other? Or would it lead them both further astray? Mom, there's something I haven't been honest about, and just like that, everything seemed to shift. The world faded away, leaving only the two of them standing on a precipice of revelation, and Mary could only wonder what would come next. Mom, there's something I haven't been honest about. The words hung in the air like a permanent stain. Mary's heart raced as Jake's gaze turned serious and intense. He swallowed hard, as if trying to choke down a lump of emotion that surged within him. What do you mean? She prompted, her voice wavering slightly under the weight of her concern. He clenched his fists, his knuckles turning white. It's about Ryan and why I've been acting the way I have. Fear coursed through Mary like a current as she braced herself for whatever he was about to reveal. What about Ryan? Jake hesitated, staring at her with wild eyes as if contemplating why he had waited so long to spill this truth. I saw him at school a few weeks ago, and he told me things about you and him. Mary felt her stomach drop. The world distorted and twisted at that moment. Things? What kind of things? The silence hung around them, heavy and thick, broken only by the rustling leaves overhead. Things that made me think you might want him back. The wind seemed to die, leaving everything eerily quiet. Mary tried to process his words, her breath hitching in her throat. Jake, did you ever love him? The question tore through the air, raw and painful. No, she cried, her heart racing. Not like that. Jake, I swear to you it was over a long time ago. I can't even remember why I thought I loved him. I made mistakes, but what I feel for you is real. Jake recoiled slightly, and Mary could see the walls beginning to rise again. But I don't know if I can believe you, he mumbled, his voice choking back a wave of emotions. You didn't trust me enough to just tell me. And you went behind my back to talk to Ryan. I thought I was helping, she replied, frustration creeping in. I didn't want to bring you into my mess. I didn't want you to feel like you had to choose sides. He turned away, his shoulders rigid, and Mary reached out, her hand grazing his arm. Jake, please. I just want us to be okay. We can get through this together. But he pulled away, the distance between them expanding like a chasm. Together? I don't even know what that means for us anymore. I feel like I don't even know you. Her heart shattered a little more at his words. She had failed him, and now the consequences were tearing them apart. I'm still your mom. I'm trying to work on myself for you. I want you to trust me. The wind picked back up, beginning to murmur around them, but the noise was like static in her ears. I don't want to keep talking about this, he said, but I'm afraid that if I tell you the rest, everything will just get worse. Try me. Mary urged, desperation punctuating her words. I need you to be honest. Please. His eyes filled with tears that he hastily blinked away, anger battling with vulnerability. What if I told you that I've kept something from you too? Something I never wanted to admit because I was scared just like you? Mary's pulse quickened. The thought of uncovering even more hidden truths felt daunting. What do you mean? He closed his eyes as if summoning the courage he needed. Mom, I've grown closer to Ryan. He has been there for me in ways you haven't. He gets what I'm going through. I can't help but feel betrayed by you. Each word hammered into Mary, carving deeper into her heart. Betrayal. That word echoed in her mind like a haunting cry, vibrating against everything she believed she was fighting for: her relationship with her son, the fragile bond that remained. Jake, I wish you would have come to me instead, she whispered, feeling helpless. Maybe I didn't know how, he rebutted, his tone barely above a whisper. Maybe I didn't think you'd listen. The night air thickened with raw emotion, and Mary realized, as stark as daylight, that they both stood on the edge of something monumental: wounds that ran far deeper than she had ever understood. Your truth changes everything, Jake, but we can still make it right, she pleaded. Let us face this, whatever it takes. He looked at her for a long moment, uncertainty written all over his face, but as he opened his mouth to respond, something shifted in the air, and Mary could feel that they were at a crossroads, reality churning just beneath the surface. Mom, he finally said, a tremor in his voice. You might have to face something about Dad. His words hung there, and for a moment, a new sense of dread washed over her. Was this going to reshape everything she thought she knew about their family? Jake's voice trembled in the cool night air, a whisper that felt louder than any shout. You might have to face something about Dad. Mary's heart skipped. Confusion washed over her, mingling with a terrible sense of foreboding. What do you mean? She dared to ask, but dread hung heavy between them. You don't really know him, Mom. Not the way I do, Jake said, taking a step back, a flicker of sadness haunting his features. All those years, those stories you told me about his heroism, about how he kept us safe, did you ever ask him how he felt about it? Or what it did to him? The questions piled on top of one another, crushing Mary under their weight. She had always painted Tom as the quiet strength of their family, but maybe she had been afraid to look closer, to see the cracks. What are you saying, Jake? Dad, he's not okay. He has been hiding things just like you. Things that have broken him. I see it every time I look at him. The way he forces a smile, but his eyes are so empty. Jake's words trembled, but they bore the weight of truth. He is scared to open up. Scared to let us see him weak. Mary's breath caught in her throat. Her hands shook as she desperately tried to hold on to a sense of control. He is just trying to be strong for us, Mom, Jake said incredulously. Being strong doesn't mean keeping everything inside. It means sharing the burden. I've heard him at night when he thinks we're asleep. He is lost just like us. Tears spilled from Mary's eyes, each one an ache deep inside her heart. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't want to hurt you more. I've been trying to figure it out myself. And I didn't want to blame him for our issues, but you can't keep pretending it's okay when it isn't. We have to face this together. They stood in silence, the night air thick with unsaid words, each heartbeat echoing the truth that coursed through them both. It had always been more complicated than they dared to acknowledge. Mary swallowed hard, her hands trembling. I never wanted it to come to this. Neither did I, Jake said, exhaustion lacing his voice. But if we're ever going to heal, we have to start by facing our family. Together. All of us. As he stepped closer, she nodded through her tears, her resolve solidifying. We need to confront this as a family. We need to show Dad that it's okay to let us in. It's okay to be vulnerable. Jake's eyes lit with hope. You think he would? He needs to understand that we're stronger together. I can't believe I thought keeping the truth hidden would protect us, she admitted, her heart aching with all the lessons she had fought against. Let us go home, Mom. Let us be honest. As they walked hand in hand, a sense of purpose began to weave through their hearts like warm threads stitching up the ripped fabric of their relationship. They understood that confronting the truths they kept hidden wouldn't be easy, but they also knew it was necessary. When they reached the diner, the comforting glow of the neon sign pooled around them, inviting them back to safety. But safety wouldn't come from pretending. It would come from facing what lay ahead inside. Tom was there, leaning against the counter, eyes narrowed as he looked up to see them enter. The weight of secret burden seemed to hang between the three of them. "Jake," Tom started, but Mary stepped in, her voice steadier now. "Tom, we need to talk. About everything." Jake took a breath, bracing himself. This was it. The moment they would unearth the truth together and pave the path to healing. "Yeah, Dad. It's time to be honest, all of us." And for the first time under the warm lights of their diner, they felt the threads of hope intertwining, not just for a brighter future, but for the chance to reconnect and weave back together the heart of their family. As they stood together, hearts racing and heavy with openness, a sense of unity began to rise, igniting the dim shadows once clouding their lives. It was time to emerge from the darkness and embrace the light. Now that you've journeyed with the Johnsons through their struggles and heartache, don't miss out on their next chapter. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand how much these actions mean.